Welcome back to my story hour. It's a place we converse with international and multicultural authors about their books. I'm Kathy Ramsperger, award-winning novelist of The Shores of Our Souls and A Thousand Flying Things. I'm also a humanitarian who's reported worldwide, but especially Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Both my novels were drawn from my real-life experiences, and so it is with our guest today, Dr. Mansur Nurdel. Welcome to Story Hour, Mansur.
Thank you very much, Kathy. It's an honor to be in your story hour. I'm looking forward to this special day here.
Me too, and it's an honor for me to have you here. Thank you so much for writing this beautiful book. So, a lot of people in Colorado know Mansur as Dr. Dell, and as their optometrist, or a fellow member of the Baha'i faith, or the parent with his wife Rosa to two sons who are grown, but they don't know how he got to Colorado. Not everybody knows that, and definitely most of us here today want to hear more about it. And lucky for us, that's the subject of his book, his memoir, and we'll unfold parts of his early story for you today. It's both harrowing and fascinating, and it's sure to add to your knowledge about immigration, as well as Iran and Turkey, and the formidable force of the mountains that separate the two countries. As a humanitarian who worked for the International Red Cross and Red Crescent for over 2 decades, I saw people like Mansur every week, at least, but we only get a fraction of their backstories. What he's done has returned decades later to pull back the curtain of his inspirational, and I would say heroic, journey. But this is all his story, and I applaud him because it took courage and it took adeptness at figuring out what story threads to include, because it's a long one, filled with scary things and joyful things. So Mansur, why did you decide to write this memoir? And I'm interested in the timing of it. Had you thought about writing it for a while?
Yes, I think the really story began, and I mentioned it a little bit, Kathy, in the book too, but it doesn't do it justice in the book. So these stories, my childhood stories, and in my teenage years, and my escape, I really hadn't even shared with my wife.
Wow.
So it was just hard thing to scratch. It's a hard one to, you just don't want to touch the old wounds. So and in 2007, a very good patient of mine, and I'm so grateful to him. So he invited me and my wife to go and see a play that he was going to be in. And we actually, my wife Rose and I, we just went to support Mark and had no clue what this play was all about. And we arrived there, Cherry Creek North Theater, and the play was about the Diary of Anne Frank. I sat in the room in the theater, and it was just my own life in front of my eyes. It was so impactful, I could not sit there actually. It was like I'm watching my own life in front of my eyes. I could not sit and watch it. I walked out. I couldn't control myself. Truthfully, Rosa panicked. So, and that was the beginning of my opening up. And I was back then about 45 years old, and in the middle of the theater. He's a 45 years old, couldn't control, is bawling his heart out. So
Anybody in
since
that situation would have been, by the way.
yes, and one of the striking part was, I think you have read the book, exactly the same age as uh, Anna Frank that had a diary. I had a diary too. It was just so real that it's just hard to bear it, frankly. So since then, every time uh, I was able to open up. Of course, the first one I was able to open up my lovely wife. So and then there was quite a bit of encouragement from my patients and my friends or so that you need to really write these stories down. So it took, 2000, this was 2007. It took me another 12 years to jump on this project. But I had a plan to write these stories since 2007 because it's the stories that I felt that people need to know.
And so you wrote it little bit by little bit? You were making progress, or did something happen where you decided, okay, now it needs to come out now?
Well, no, I didn't write a piece. So in 2018, I partnered my businesses, which I had six eye care centers in Colorado, with a much larger uh, company, and my responsibilities greatly, thank God, reduced. This was I
Actually,
was just not able to do it. Not that because now I had more time to dedicate to this. No, it is not done on piece by piece.
that's wonderful that you had the time to do it. And if you read in the book, everybody, you'll know why this was a big deal. I'm not going to give everything away, but you're an amazing optometrist in so many ways. Um, so I'd like to go back and have you tell us about your life as a child and young adult in Iran. You obviously can't tell us the whole story. It's all in the book. Not all of it. I can tell there are pieces that you weren't able to put in there because it's a book. But a bit of an overview with a couple of anecdotes that you think are special or frightening or both.
And I think I'll start actually because I think the book starts when I was 4 years old. And
Mhm.
I still vividly remember that story, Kathy. After really 56 years, I'm going to be turning 60 soon. So uh, we were the only non-Muslim family in a small village of like 800 people. And my cousin and I, we ran to uh, only store that the village had. My cousin had some money. We ran to the store to get candy, and we got there, and we wanted to buy candy and bubble gum. So the store owner refused to sell the candy and bubble gum to us. Because he asked us who are we, whose grandson are we, and we told him, "No, we are 4 years old, and my cousin was 5 years old, a year older than me." So, and right in front of our eyes, we saw the uh, bubble gum and we saw the candy on the store shelves, and he said he doesn't have a candy; they are not for sale.
And you're four
And I
years
just 4 years
old.
old. And again, honestly, Kathy, truthfully, I just remember still what I was wearing, what I uh, just running through the dirt roads on the village. And we came back, and of course, 4 years old, I threw myself on my mom's arms and crying. So I didn't understand it. And then my mom said, yes, store uh, owner will not sell anything to our family. And I said, why? And she said, because we are Baha'is, we are not Muslim. And I just couldn't get it. What the 4 years old brain will understand? What is the relationship of system of belief to a bubble gum? So that's
Well,
how my,
older than that actually might have that question too.
what is it?
People
I'm
older
sorry.
than 4 might have that question too. Mhm.
Exactly. So honestly, I didn't. So that was my childhood, and of course, I was in that village. We lived in that village, the only Baha'i family, until I was 14 in 1978. So, unfortunately, my childhood was full of bullying, name calling. There was not even a day that I would go home without fighting with someone or not being abused verbally, physically, psychologically, everything. That was just a part of everyday life
Mhm.
uh, until we were in that village in 1978.
Can you tell those of us who aren't familiar with the Baha'i faith what it stands for?
The Baha'i faith is really is the latest in the line of uh, worldwide religions. The Baha'i faith is has very progressive principles and ideals. Uh, we believe that there's only one God and there's only one religion, actually, and that's the religion of God.
Mhm.
Uh, and what we believe is the God, the unknowable essence, uh, every so often sends us some teachers or messengers to give us a better understanding of his revelation, his teachings. So, uh, several thousand years ago, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad. Then what we believe is that for this time of the history, Baha'u'llah, which is in the translation will be the glory of God, is in the same line of the teachers that has brought us this understanding of human relationships. With that, in the Baha'i faith is we believe actually equality of men and between men and women. We believe that harmony between science and religion. We believe in a elimination of all kind of prejudices. I mean, that's all inclusive, that the racial, ethnical, religious, just you name it. And the
Ex-
bedrock of the Baha'i faith is the unity of mankind. We are just one family. And more, and I will just mention another one, and it's the education is very important in the Baha'i faith. Education actually is a compulsory in the Baha'i faith, and there is no clergy. I am responsible myself to think for myself, not to someone to tell me how to think. I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks or very challenging for the what is current establishment in Iran, Islamic government, so not letting you to think for yourself. I hope that's enough. I frankly, there are a lot more,
We
but I don't
talked a
want to bore
lot
your
about it
listeners.
because you're a leader in your faith, and so I know you can talk a lot about it. I think it is the tip of the glacier, at least. And thank you for the explanation. And I think it would help the audience understand why the persecution was happening and the bullying. How do you feel about telling about the day that you were I don't know that you were certain that day when this event happened. How old were you? And when did you decide I'm probably going to have to leave?
Um, I think if it's okay, I actually want to mention why we left the actual village. Probably that's
Absolutely.
another.
That's absolutely fine. Yes.
Yeah, I think your listeners should know that we really didn't want to leave even the village that we our ancestors were there, but we were on December 31st, 1978. Villagers from our own village and surrounding villagers, they invaded our house. They completely destroyed our house in front of our eyes. We actually thought that they had come to take our lives. So we, uh, we are very grateful that some of our close relatives were the one that caused us to be not harmed. So we were saved by our close relatives. But the so as a result, the villagers which there were about 400 of them, uh, completely destroyed our house. They looted our belongings. They
And burned it.
divided our
They set it on.
lives between themselves. So and then
And
and they gave us.
you had a chicken. That's the part
That's
that's
right.
best, that you had a chicken and that was the only thing they'd left. The chicken had hid.
Correct. There's
Mhm.
only four chickens had left, so so we left the village with nothing in our uh, hands except the four chickens that I was able to collect it and put in a box and take it to the larger city called Tabriz to sell. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest, probably my life changing. So it's just very, as a 14 years old, it's just incredible how to uh, really witness those and live where every surroundings that you have known for 14 years behind and leave and just in a matter of 8 hours.
Mhm. And so you were in a village and it's what you knew. And then Tabriz is not Tehran, but it's a city. And then
Correct,
you
correct,
went there and with basically nothing. So you managed to not only carve out a life, you carved out a living, your family, and you were a leader in that. And actually, it's where you became interested in your profession now, correct?
correct, correct. Yeah, because unfortunately, another that things matter, your listeners should know. Unfortunately, Baha'is are not allowed to get any higher education than high school.
Mm.
So my uh, brother, who was a second year of medical school student, was expelled from university. So when I was in high school, I knew there is no um, future in terms of the education for me. So that's it. After high school, there is no university that I will be allowed to study and pursue with my dreams. So I got into the two different businesses as a young man, as a 16, 17 years old. And one of the business that I got into was the forming optical surfacing lab. So I had established at age 19 optical surfacing lab in Tabriz, and then followed by opening of an optical shop in Tabriz. So I had a lab as well as the optical shop in Tabriz.
It was meant to be, sort of, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So so now we get to we're skipping because I want everyone who hears this anywhere to read your book. It's so riveting. We're skipping to the point at which you thought, now I'm going to have to leave. You'd wondered, and you were angry, correct? But you
Of
didn't,
course,
you love your country and you did not want to leave. So take us there.
sure. I think it go back, how even leaving village that I knew as a home, I don't think anyone really uh, wants to get up and leave uh, familiar places and language and family behind. Immigration is not an easy thing. Even immigrate, moving from as beautiful country that we have in United States, as large as it is, it's moving from a East Coast to the West Coast. It's can be very daunting. Okay, what even makes it worse when you leave that you know you may never be back. We are lucky to get up and move from East Coast to West Coast, but we know I can catch up an airplane and go back and see my family. That's the heart of immigration. In immigration, especially the immigration type of that I have had, I knew that I will most likely never be able to be back to the home that I have called home for 24 years
And your family.
and the family. So what would happen? Unfortunately, certain events happened. There was a young man, uh, 24 years old, when he was brutally tortured and murdered in a prison uh, as a member of the Baha'i faith. Uh, uh, there were a lot of, there were over 200 Baha'is were executed in the early years of 1980s. And now it's 1988, and this young man was in prison, was cornered by some inmates, and the guards uh, basically looked away, and he was brutally murdered in prison under the boiling hot water. And I have really tried to describe uh, uh, his body because I took a pictures of his tortured body, and it just imagine to it's hard to imagine the uh, how he looked. So I'll skip that part, so I won't give that detail. So
It's
because I
on Facebook and YouTube. So yeah, we have to stay pretty G-rated.
yes, right. So because I took a pictures of his tortured body, and uh, it became known that I was the photographer. So I had to take a 45 days, less than 40. I actually vividly remember it was February 14th of 1988 when this event happened. So, which is very special day for Americans here. Well, it was not a special day for us back then. So, uh, I took a 45 days, close to 45 days of underground life. And on March 21st, 1988, I after I made all the arrangements with two other friends to leave the country through Turkey and escape to Turkey.
So what you
Uh,
thought was going to happen isn't what actually happened on that trip. You
oh,
thought
100%.
truck.
Oh, my God, absolutely not. So, we were told and we had paid the smugglers uh, and there were three of us, three young men. I was 24, and these other two gentlemen were 23. They were year younger than me. So we were told that we are going to be contacting our parents in 24 hours. We're going to be
Yeah,
writing.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
So
That's shocking to me that they said 24 hours. Hmm.
24 hours. So because Kathy, you have read the book, you know how long it took, and that's why it's. I honestly to think even about it, how much my parents suffered during that time. Now that I'm parent, I just don't know how they did it. How they did it, because we were told that we're gonna ride on a truck and then horseback riding, and we will be contacting our parents in 24 hours. That 24 hours took 15 days, and we had only 45 minutes of uh, car ride. Remaining part of the escape um, from western part of the mountains of Iran to the eastern part of Turkey, which is all mountainous region, and mountains as high as our Rockies in Colorado, and it's more treacherous, more snow than here. It took us by foot 13 days to walk at mountains. And I have tried in the book really day by day to give a uh, details of what has happened.
So there's a point at which you all go off course. You don't have to tell the whole story of that, but you're welcome to. And for a moment, it's like an all is lost moment to the reader. You think, but you made it, right? So all is not lost, but you still feel it's so well done in terms of the peril and the danger and the hopelessness. Would you like to talk about what happened and how you found the first house that would take you in?
Uh, as I said, we had, of course, hired smugglers, and smugglers, Kathy, had arranged these places for us. So we would walk at nighttime, by the way, okay, and we would take a refuge in a daytime. So smugglers in the they had made again these arrangements on so we can stay on the daytime. But I
Mhm.
think it was the second day of our um, this long journey of walking. Unfortunately, one of our friends was a bit heavy. I just actually visited him in Australia in November. I'm so glad I was able to see him after so many years. So, and I teased him as much as I could. So he was heavy.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm sure he
he-
took it well now.
yes, he did. He did. Um, so he couldn't walk. So we weren't able to reach walk from the point A to point B. So and we instead of making to the point B that was supposed to be our refuge, our place of hiding, really at 6 o'clock in the morning, we got stranded in the middle of the mountains. And
In a
yes,
blizzard. I want to make certain I'm right about that. To me, it was a blizzard. Was it a blizzard?
correct. Blizzard, yes. So when the time we took a refuge behind a big boulder, 6 o'clock in the morning, it was not blizzard. So we we stayed there from 6 o'clock in the morning until 11:18 in the morning. I have these details. I will mention later why I have these details later. So frankly, our feet had started losing their because of the coldness and senses. We couldn't feel our feet anymore. We couldn't because we were immobile. When you walk, you will be okay in a cold climate, but being stationary just over we had even probably started saying some nonsenses too because it just affects the brain too. Just at the 11 o'clock in the morning, so we really truly decided, okay, and it's right behind this big boulder that we were hiding. It was a border patrols. We decided to walk out, frankly, to get shot and die. I'm just, it's hard to imagine, but we found that one is easier than being frozen to death in here. And uh, we walked, we decided to walk out. That's when the blizzard started. So, and
Oh,
I mentioned in my book, I am not a person to believe in miracles, but I saw the miracle in my own life. So blizzard took over, and it was so bad that I couldn't see even a feet or 2 feet away from front of me. So as a result, we that's where we got off the course and we got lost. And then every time from from that point on, because we got lost, uh, every night we would walk, and when we arrived at the new place, it was a moment of danger for us because the smugglers will go and negotiate with the new people that they had never met. They had never made these arrangements, so every day became a uh, danger zone for us.
and there was danger from all sides because you were a little afraid the smugglers would abandon you
Right.
or worse. Um, so what would you say if you saw one of those people that kindly took you in now that you're safe and sound and lived a life and
I'll give them a big hug because I don't think we can thank them enough.
Mm,
You see what I mean?
mhm.
I don't know if I say, okay, if you, back then you took $100 to save my life. Here's $1,000. I don't think it does it justice, frankly. It because we cannot. Uh,
But it was what
I,
you
I
had.
I don't want to.
I want everybody to know it was what you had. It was uh a a a royal's bank vault for
Correct.
your family, what you had to take as money.
Exactly. I think that's what I said to go back and thank them. I don't think financially will do it. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
I do.
Uh,
It does
I
make
don't
because
because we cannot put a dollar value to the lives that they saved.
Mhm.
Okay. And I unfortunately I would never ever will have this opportunity to thank them enough
Well,
in person.
you never that's true in person. You never
Yeah.
know whether they don't
Yes.
know now,
I,
but
I hope it will happen, but as I said, I will give them a biggest hug that I have, and truly thank them for taking the risk and saving my life.
well, I thank them too. You were meant to endure this, that's for certain, all three of you. So, we're skipping a lot, but you finally got to Turkey. Spoiler. And if you'd like to tell us a little bit about that, But I'd also like to talk about your first call to your parents, or it wasn't exactly straight to your parents, and the language barrier, all of that sort of thing.
Sure. Um, I think the one of my uh, really joyous time in that moment was arriving to uh, Turkey and United Nations Refugee Office and receiving the what's called in Turkish language called kimlik, which means now I have the identity to stay in Turkey as a refugee. So that when we arrived at the United Nations Refugee Office in Ankara and we got that piece of paper in our hand, because you are not safe, Kathy, until you have that paper in your hand. You can be deported back, and many other people were deported back. So as soon as we got that paper in our hand, we rushed to the um, post office, um, and we called Iran. We called actually my parents' house, and all I could see is the screaming behind uh, this phone. He's alive. He's alive. So it's hard to really even imagine. Now that I am a father, I just I just cannot imagine what my parents endured during that 15 days.
Well, there were so
So
many impediments to the communication, even if it had been a normal journey and you weren't leaving in haste for your life. You were risking your life because it in 1988 there were no cell phones, there were no chips, there it was very difficult and incredibly expensive to call country to country. And there's so many other things that we can't talk about on here that were in play. And um, I can't imagine being your mother, and I'm so happy for her that she heard your voice.
thank you,
Being a
thank you.
mama still.
Yeah, so that's really the I think one of the uh, and another I want to share a little bit one kind of short story really, Kathy. We were right at the border of Iran and Turkey, uh, and snow really up to chest on top of the mountains, and I I remember really uh, clearly now that on the east side of west side of the mountain was which is Turkey was bright with the lights with the from border lights and border patroller lights that they had.
One time you don't want the lights.
That's right. That's the
Yeah.
one time. But that light was the for us freedom. So, but I remember when the we got the opportunity, we just slide down the mountain with those snow, and that was another joyful moment. Even the danger was not uh, away, but at least we were out of that country. And this in this process, there were some we were with the taking all these risks, we were saved. As I'm talking to your audience here, um, I am fine. But unfortunately, 8 months after I had left, there were three young Baha'is that were perished during that mountains, and they never know what happened. They even didn't recover the bodies.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then it happens that people go missing and turn up decades later, either alive or not alive. And that we were talking before the show, and I said that was some of the most heartwarming stories when you read a note from somebody who had turned up. So you were in Iran on the Iranian side, and you were looking into Turkey, and you weren't exactly where you thought you were going to enter, and there's border patrol. So tell us just a little tiny bit about crossing.
Well, again, this is the
Feet were
crossing that,
frozen. Your feet were frozen, and you were soaked wet too, by the way.
yes. We finally, I don't want to give up the stories, but they were negotiating, and because it was a handing us from Iranian smugglers to Turkish smugglers, and we were left in the middle of really the top of the mountains, and we were the piece of negotiating. So they were Turkish smugglers wanted more money, and um, we didn't have money. So after finally these negotiation was done, uh, we uh, uh, we took the that slide and entered the Turkey. And of course, now it was flat. We were, but snow was not any easier to walk. So all these times we are frozen and wet, an incredibly cold climate. And then we arrived to one small village in the west uh, eastern side of Turkey, a city called Yuksakova. That's where the first small town that we entered. And from there, uh, we one night we took a about an hour and a half car ride. And of course, we had entered the Turkey. Nothing went right for us, Kathy. We had entered to Turkey in the worst part of the really time of the year in terms of the climate, and the worst time of the that could have happened, because there were 29 inmates had escaped from Istanbul prison. So, if which is very well known, everyone can search that online and look at the 29 inmates that had escaped in 1988, March of 27th of 1988. These were the m- really uh, murderers. They were hunting for these every part of the country. So the Turkey was in the highest alert of their security when we entered Turkey. So as a result, we couldn't ride again on a car ride. We had to uh, walk another 8 hours before we arrived to a city called Van. So, but probably that's really the last walk was one of the most difficult walks that we had to do. Uh, I want to share just a little bit, very short story. In the last leg of our escape, in that leg, there were another seven political escapees had joined us. When we arrived to the outskirts of city of Van, to in a house in a small village, Kathy, one of these guys looked at his uh, feet and said, "Oh my God, where's my boot?" He had lost his boot during that walk. he had not noticed it.
Mm.
It was that cold because we had crossed the frozen river. So, and so that how difficult, how bad it was. And this gentleman had walked for God knows how long. We had no idea how long without his boots on, his left foot boots on.
That's why I say this was a miracle, because that there were no amputations. I'm just amazed at that.
You know, I am grateful. I had a patient yesterday in my office. Actually, he did share with me that they were two brothers, that both brothers had crossed those rivers, and they are in Houston. I actually am going to frankly try to reach out to them. Unfortunately, both brothers, they had their foot amputated.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot for many different reasons. So I'm thinking of all sorts of things that happened on your journey, and I don't want any more spoilers. So I'm going to say, I think you've told us your most joyful moment in the journey. Um, can you tell us your most painful, and it maybe not the journey, just between the time that you had to leave your home in the village to the time you made it to the United States? What would you say was the most painful, if it's
Most
okay?
painful, yes, most painful was actually saying goodbye to my sister,
Mm.
because she really didn't believe even in the last minute. Uh, I tried to, well, I drove from Tabriz to a city called Urmia in the western part of Iran, and she was with me. And my mother was with me too. So the most painful thing was actually saying goodbye to her. And she had the only necklace that she had in her life ever. She took it out, that necklace, and put it on my neck and said, "Be safe." That was the most difficult. I still get emotional.
Oh, me too. Me too. I don't know how you can think about it and not get emotional. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, is it okay if I ask about what was going on for your family in Iran once you made it to Turkey and then onwards? After you uh, had your document, and you didn't find this out for years, correct? About how,
That's right. Correct. So what happened, and that's why honestly, uh, your listeners and your my readers always find it surprising how detailed my memoir is. Okay, and I want to now touch that story, why it's so detailed. When I arrived to Turkey, and the first letter that I wrote to my parents, Kathy,
Mhm.
I got a word from my parents that the letter was open, and the letter that I received from them was open. So, uh, but the things happen for a reason, I guess. This caused me, for what I did. Then I started writing uh, exact copy of the same letter that I had written to my parents, details of my escape, even to the minutes, and also I would literally sit down and write a letter to them and make exactly the same copy handwriting. There was no copy machine, there was no Xerox or so. I would make another copy for myself. So,
and
and in the past,
there are pictures in the book to that effect everywhere.
that's right. In the past 35 years, there's a box that I have been carrying around everywhere, not knowing how one day this is going to be a source of my uh, this memoir. I treasure them. And honestly, I'm moving from um, uh, Milwaukee to in St. Louis and any place. I have carried this little box with me. And when this project started, I went back and opened that box. I categorized them, and all the details uh, is there. If any one of your listeners are Persians and they want to read the Farsi letters, and I have it. I have over 1,000 letters of with these details. So to go back to answer your question, my family got in trouble. My brother uh, uh, was arrested and sent to military service. Even as of today, they really don't tell me the details of what happened to them, what they did to them. I'm not sure it makes any difference anyway. But what I do know, they were under tremendous pressure, and uh, they were they did not believe that I had left. They were thinking that the Iranian government was thinking that I'm still back in Iran. I think it was after 6 months their kind of pressure was loosened up.
Wow. This story had a wonderful, happy ending, Mansour. It took a long, long time. And I'd, if you don't mind, I'd like to save the way you met your wife for people to read in the book.
Sure.
Um, my favorite part of the entire memoir, and I have a bookmark there, is when you were able to actually see your family members again. Would you mind just saying how it felt? I mean, you don't need to tell us about the actual details, but the feelings must have been so intense.
Again, I want to say, I don't think we are able to express the feelings though.
Mhm.
It's uh, to go back to answer your question regarding the how would I really react with those people that they um, housed us. Um, it's just hard to express the feelings. No, no matter how hard we
There are no words in
try,
Farsi, are
it,
there?
there isn't. So I frankly, in 1997, now it's about 10 years after I had left Iran. And, for your listeners, I want them to know the Baha'is were not given passports for many, many, many years. And in 1997, my parents, only my mom and dad only, and surprisingly, and my mom would be as a companion, not her own passport. She will be listed in my dad's passport as a companion, where they were giving the passport so that they can come out of Iran. So in May 1997, after 10 years, we planned to meet in Istanbul, in Turkey. I don't know I am even again close to express when I saw them after 10 years at the airport. Uh,
Probably wondered if it was even going to happen, if it was real.
it
You know,
wasn't. I mean, it was, as I said, I was holding my mom, and I honestly didn't think it was real. And, by this time, I am a 30 years old man. Um, so honestly, during all this time, uh, truthfully, I really hugged my dad. We slept in the same bed together.
that's beautiful. That is such a
So
beautiful.
because it was hard to let them go. Do you see that? And they were. afraid of again letting me to go, not to be able to see again.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that, I think that's, I hope explains at least a little bit of emotion.
Does. It does. Thank you. It really does. So it's almost been an hour. Um, and so I'd like to end asking, it's not even it's not even a question. I just think it's wonderful how 9/11 opened up the opportunity for you to speak more about this rather than closed you down. That takes courage, first of all, and resilience. But it I love that you saw it as an opportunity. Um, and thank you for speaking about it as a result. It's um, a wonderful advantage, one of the few of that horrible day, is that more people are telling their stories. Um, you want to say anything about that?
Well, again, as you pointed out beautifully, it became an opportunity for me to share with my patients and other people who are who we are, who as immigrants we are, what we bring to the uh, society. Um, uh, we bring a different understanding. And 9/11 was the really turning point for me to be able to open up and talk to my patients. So, and again, just a little bit more details in the book. So hopefully my readers will have a chance to read it.
There are a lot more details in the book. We just scratched the surface. Um, I feel like these are really important questions, so I'm going to ask them. What advice would you give to humanitarians today who are helping refugees based on your experience and others you've heard about? Because we don't always get it right.
Um, I want to thank them.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a perfect example for um, what refugees can bring to our beautiful country.
Yes,
Uh, I'm I'm very grateful, Kathy, what I have been able to achieve. Um,
we're grateful for you.
well,
Speak.
thank you. And it's because I was able to establish multiple eye care centers in Colorado. I still do manage. I manage 10 eye care centers in Colorado right now. And being able to serve and create that opportunity for over 100 people to uh, have income, it's the greatest feeling. And I wanted to thank this humanitarian organization that played a big role in my life to be able to come here. And I asked them, please continue to do it. And I do mention in the book too, I help with these refugee organizations, it's immigration agencies or so, because it's the uh, immigrants bring add different fabrics to our society. So I want to thank them, and please continue to do it.
Thank you. Is that sort of your final message, or do you have any last message to leave us all with?
I do like to ask your listeners and one more request. I want you to look at the uh, Senate Resolution 74. Senate Resolution 74 is the resolution that our Senate has adopted to condemn the persecutions of Baha'is in Iran.
Mm.
Please reach out to your senator of your. You can visit the actual. I just looked at it. There are 33 senators that are the co-sponsor of this resolution. Uh, I personally, on behalf of the Baha'i community of Iran and the Baha'i community of the United States, I request every single one of you to reach out to your senators and ask them to co-sponsor this Senate resolution. And I am very, very grateful to our country. I am very grateful to our um, uh, Congress and Senate. The matter of fact that I'm sitting here and talking to you live is these resolutions. These resolutions do work.
Mm.
Fortunately, uh, Congress just passed the resolution 492, which was again condemning the resolution persecution of the Baha'is in Iran. They quite really the only two members did not vote unanimously. It will be wonderful if your listeners can reach out again their senators and ask them to co-sponsor this resolution.
Thank you. And everybody, if there will be a replay of this conversation, and if you're only hearing the last part of it here live, know that if you listen and you read this wonderful book that Mansur gifted to all of us, One More Mountain, Fleeing Iran for America, and you can find it at onemoremountain.com, as well as online booksellers. You'll read a story that 1 hour doesn't do justice, because it was a lot more than an hour that you went through. So you'll find out why he is asking our support. And you'll also find out more about his story, as well as so many people who did just as he did, perhaps not as harrowing a story where everything went wrong, but I really encourage you to read it. Thank you for coming today, Mansur, and I am looking forward to hearing much more about you and your family as time goes on.
I want to thank your audience for joining us. I wanted to say how enjoyable was this discussion with you, Kathy. And again, I'm really honored to be part of this.
As am I, and I am excited about the echoes it will have after it's posted here on YouTube and elsewhere. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on this educational and riveting hour. We'll be back next month with another wonderful author about me and my work, including some of my recent stories and journals and upcoming appearances at KatherineBrownRamsperger.com. Thank you again, Mansur. Thank you, everyone who's listening. And here's wishing you a good weekend with blessed heat and electricity and all this cold weather, and a great book to read by the fire. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.